सर्वस्य चाहं हृदिसानिविष्टो माता स्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहम्. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
Text 16.
Oh, sorry. Davimo purusho loke, shara shakshara evacha, shara sarvani bhutani, kutasto shara uchyate. There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. Uttama purushastanya, paramet metyudajitaha, yolokatrayam avishya, devartiyapiya ishvaraha. Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. Yaspacharamatitoham akshara chotamaha atosmi loke vedecha pratita purushottamaha. Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that Supreme Person.
Text 19.
Yovamevam samudo janati purushottamam sa sarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as that Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is a knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata.
Text 20.
Iti goyat mamam shastram idamuktam mayangaha etad buddha buddhiman syat. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one. And this is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I would like you to just stay here with me for the next 5 minutes. We're going to recite the verse from today as well, text 20. Oh, you do have a call to join? Okay, fine. In that case, thank you, Vedant, Yash, and Sridham, for joining us for this recitation this evening. So thank you everybody for tuning in into the transcendental vibration of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm just going to bring up today's verse. Bear with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It was an excellent recitation, wasn't it, Hema Mataji? Thank you for the message. Okay, so today's text, maybe we can have Ashwin Prabhu, would you like to recite the Sanskrit of the text, or would you like me to do Sanskrit and you can do the translation in the first paragraph of the purport?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I can certainly give it a go in Sanskrit.
Okay, go for it, Prabhu.
Iti guya tamam shastram idam uktam maya naga etad buddhva buddhiman syat krita krityascha bharata.
Thank you, Prabhu. That was wonderful. Translation. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So Ashwin Prabhu, you can read the first paragraph, and after that, maybe we can have who's on my list here. Chaya Mataji, you can read the second paragraph. So Ashwin Prabhu, if you could like to read the first paragraph.
The Lord clearly.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have to apologize because I'm going from my service back to home and I'm driving.
Okay, no problem, Chaya Mataji.
Okay.
No problem.
I
Thank
do
you.
apologize. So sorry.
That's okay. No problem. We can have Ajay Mukunda Prabhu who can read the second and third paragraph. Thank you. Carry on, Ashwin Prabhu, with the first one.
The Lord clearly explains here that this is the substance of all revealed scriptures, and one should understand this as it is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. In other words, by understanding this philosophy of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead and engaging in his transcendental service, everyone can become free from all contamination of the modes of material nature. Devotional service is a process of spiritual understanding. Wherever devotional service exists, the material contamination cannot coexist. Devotional service to the Lord and the Lord Himself are one and the same because they are spiritual. Devotional service takes place within the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is said to be the sun, and ignorance is called darkness. Where the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Therefore, whenever devotional service is present, under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance.
Everyone must take to this consciousness of Krishna and engage in devotional service to become intelligent and purified. Unless one comes to this position of understanding Krishna and engages in devotional service, however intelligent he may be in the estimation of some common man, he is not perfectly intelligent. The word anaga, by which Arjun is addressed, is significant. Anaga, or sinless one, means that unless one is free from all sinful reactions, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. One has to become free from all contamination, all sinful activities, then he can understand. But devotional service is so pure and potent that once one is engaged in devotional service, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness.
Thank you, Prabhu. I'll read the last paragraph. While one is performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing one has to surmount is the weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of heart is that as one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature, he becomes attached to matter and possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describes the process of freeing oneself from these weaknesses of heart, and the rest of the chapter, from the 6th verse through the end, discusses Purushottam Yoga. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhube Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I would like to just read the translation one more time. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise. And his endeavors will know perfection. So just to, before we recap, can anybody remember some points? What are the 3 first points we discussed from the 5 points of this purport of Srila Prabhupada? Any reflections from yesterday from anybody?
How to understand knowledge as it is.
Yeah, that's right. That was the first one. Well done, Mataji. Hema Mataji.
And the result, one will become intelligent.
Right. Okay, that's right. So the first one is that how do we understand, or how do we approach this book Bhagavad Gita as it is? And we discussed a little bit how Srila Prabhupada very deliberately gave this word as it is, and a lot of the devotees gave some wonderful reasons of why Prabhupada decided to choose that word. And then we had the second point, which was then shared by Mataji just now. And what was that point, Hema Mataji?
The result is one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. The
That's
result
right.
of that.
So as a result of having this knowledge, one will become transcendental, having received this knowledge. And then the third part was that how the practical application everyone must take to Krishna consciousness and devotional service to become intelligent and purified. So just a quick recap from yesterday. We discussed that this verse summarizes the chapter 15, which is the knowledge explained in this chapter is the essence of the Vedanta and the most confidential part and substance of the Vedas. Then we discussed how this particular chapter of Purushottam Yoga, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport as well, that this chapter discusses the breaking our material attachments and understanding Krishna as the source of Brahman, as the maintainer, the Paramatma, and as a Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And finally, knowing all this, one surrenders and becomes one with him in desire and service. That is the conclusion of all the Shastras. Prabhupada quotes this from the Yoga of the Supreme Person. And as Hema Mataji said, we discussed the first element, how to understand this knowledge. We should understand it as it is, given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without trying to speculate about it. There may be things when we read Bhagavad Gita for the first time of Srimad Bhagavatam, certain chapters, like say if you're reading, say, third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in which there is Visarga, or the sub-creation has been explained, which is created by Lord Brahma, how the Pradhan is there in the dormant state, and by Lord's glance and the influence of the Kala, the time, when they come together, there is an agitation. And because of that agitation, the Pradhan starts to become alive. And then comes the 3 senses, the subtle senses. And from there comes the Gyan Indriya. Like that, these are quite technical intricacies of the sub-creation. So when somebody is reading Bhagavatam or studying Bhagavatam, he may come across these technical points, or even the universal form of the Lord, which is discussed in the third canto, or even the Sankhya Yoga, which is then explained by Kapila Dev to Devahuti, can be quite technical. So what should one do? Should we just put the Bhagavatam aside and say, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Prabhupada is amazing, and I know Prabhupada had to give these wonderful commentaries, and this is going on my head. I think I'm just going to skip the whole thing, or maybe I'll just take a pause and pick up something else for the next few days. My humble recommendation and suggestion to that is, don't do that with any of Srila Prabhupada books. Even if you do not understand something in the first go, just read it as in one go. And then when you come back to it the second time, it'll make sense. And when you come back to the third time, it'll start to make even more sense. But more importantly, when you're not sure of the topics, when you come in the association of the devotees and discuss those topics, or hear from the senior Vaishnavas, then it starts to become very, very clear. So I say this because even I studied it in the third canto in my Bhakti Vaibhav session. But recently I've been facilitating the overview of Srimad Bhagavatam course, where I was reading and recapping and refreshing my memory. And even I was stuck in sub-creation about a couple of questions. But then, having taken shelter of Bhagavad Subodhini and also His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, Sutapa Prabhu's book, things started to become clear and things started to make a lot more sense to me as I was reading them. So that's why we have to accept it as it is without procrastinating, like, let me put it away till tomorrow, day after. No, just read through it. Especially if you have taken a vow to read certain number of pages of Bhagavatam, don't skip anything. Then we discuss the result, that one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge, freed from all contaminations and from material modes. And how devotional service and the Lord are one and the same, as Ajay Mukunda Prabhu read in that purport. Prabhupada is saying, because the devotional service is the manifestation of the internal energy of the Lord, which is Haladini Shakti, and the Lord, they're all on the same transcendental level. And there is an analogy given that Lord is like a sun, ignorance is like darkness. So when there is a sun, there is no question of darkness. So whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of the spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance. So the line here is emphasizing that if we are not in the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master coming in the parampara system, there is every possibility of mode of ignorance or even mode of passion creeping in that, because then we are subjected to someone who himself or herself is under the still having, in the 4 defects, and not only that, but also maybe adding their own speculation actually. And we hear from Lord Kapila Dev when he's instructing to his mother Devahuti around in the 3rd chapter towards the end, the Sankhya Yoga. There Kapila Dev explains that even devotional service can be performed in the 3 categories, which are mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Now, one thing which is very important to note here is, although the devotional service can be practiced based on these 3 levels, but devotional service is not subjected to these 3 modes. I hope I'm able to explain this point. Although devotional service can be practiced in these 3 modes, but devotional service in itself is not subjected to these 3 modes. So what I'm trying to say, devotional service is practiced by a sadhaka who's still influenced by these 3 modes of material nature. But the bhakti itself is transcendental. So that's why bhakti in mode of goodness is very, very illuminating. Things are very, very clear to the person. And they are driven by a sense of one wanting to get enlightenment, one wanting to get clarity, one wanting to take shelter of the Lord. And then there is bhakti, which is practiced because the person or the sadhaka is still under the influence of passion. It is then practiced with a desire to achieve some material benefits or to achieve some benedictions which are offered by the Shastra or many other things. It's motivated by some kind of desire. Then there is bhakti for a sadhaka who's still under the mode of ignorance. So you can take my example, where one is completely driven with a desire for greed, adoration, and trying to get some popularity. So that is the level of somebody who's practicing bhakti in that level. So this is what Kapila Dev is trying to tell. And after these verses, Lord Kapila Dev is telling Devahuti that, my dear mother, but one who takes or gradually comes to the level of performing pure devotional service, he's completely above those 3 modes. That's why Krishna very deliberately confirms this to Arjuna when he says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti labhate param. That the state one attains is Brahma Bhuta state is one is not hankering after anything. He's reached a platform where he has no material desires. He's above the mode of passion. Now he's situated at the mode of goodness. So for us as a sadhaka, it's quite important that we rise our consciousness or rise our actions, our word, our psychophysical nature to gradually come to the level of sattva gun. Because when we are situated as sattva gun, then we are performing devotional service. It will bring much more benefit to us than in any other levels actually. So we learned about, I guess it's not digressing, but it's about establishing the point about We were talking how devotional service is present under the proper guidance of spiritual master. There is no question of ignorance. So it came from that point about ignorance, that ignorance can be there if we are not following the instructions of the spiritual master, and because we are still under the influence of the modes of material nature. But when we follow the instructions of spiritual master, then very soon we can rise to the level of transcendental platform. Then we talked about how the real result of devotional service, we looked at some of the results, we looked at from this beautiful verse, what happens for somebody who's performing devotional service, how his or her mind becomes completely enlivened. And then we also looked at the practical application that everyone must take to Krishna consciousness and devotional service to become intelligent and purified. And we discussed how some of the limitations of somebody who's desiring to increase his parentage, his wealth, his beauty. Unfortunately, that person is not the right candidate for the recipient of the mercy of the Lord to perform devotional service, because they become hindrance if not utilized in the service of the Lord. Like Gaur Gopal Prabhu says, he mentions the fact that there's no harm in having a Mercedes or in having this, as long as you're using in the service of the Lord and gradually trying to, I know you have a material desires and you're trying to sort of get through them. So it's very, in that sense, initially we may take it, but if we engage that in driving our spiritual master or senior devotees from one place to another to the temple, then everything is being used in the service of Krishna actually. So today we will have a look at the 2 points, which is the first one is the word which is being used here is anaga, which means it implies unless one is free from all sinful reactions, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. So what is the hope? Devotional service is so pure and potent that once one who's engaged, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness. So if you all recall, some of you or hopefully all of you, are Param Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction, in the first verse, talking about controlling of tongues and the other senses, he specifically mentions about atonement for somebody who has performed sinful activity. What is the best kind of atonement? So in that relationship, Rupa Goswami says that the constant engagement in devotional service is the best kind of atonement, because through that one will gradually be able to overcome these sinful propensities. So I've taken this excerpt from there, from Nectar of Instruction, when Srila Prabhupada is writing. He's saying real atonement involves coming to real knowledge, and for this there is a standard process. Actually, maybe somebody else can read it. It would be nice. Maybe who would like to read it? We have.
Can I read it, Prabhuji?
Yes, go ahead, Mataji. Please read it.
Okay, Prabhuji. Real atonement involves coming to real knowledge, and for this there is a standard process. When one follows a regulated hygienic process, he does not fall sick. A human being is meant to be trained according to certain principles to revive his original knowledge. Such a methodical life is described as tapasya. One can be gradually elevated to the standard of real knowledge or Krishna consciousness by practicing austerity and celibacy, brahmacharya, by controlling the mind, by controlling the senses, by giving up one's possessions in charity, by being avowedly truthful, by keeping clean, and by practicing yoga asanas. However, if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a pure devotee, he can easily surpass all the practices for controlling the mind by the mystic yoga process simply by following the regulated principles of Krishna consciousness, refraining from illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, and by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord under the direction of bona fide spiritual master. This easy process is being recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So you see, the easiest process for us to be atoning anything we may have done in the previous life is to be engaged in devotional service. But one thing a devotee must keep in mind, that we cannot take the Shastras and scriptures and the holy name for granted, in the sense that, okay, I had performed something, I've done some sinful activity in my previous life or in this life earlier, and now I'm performing this wonderful atonement by performing devotional service. But to have a mentality that let me perform the sinful activity again, and then again I'll chant more rounds, and then hopefully I'll be purified. So that is actually one of the offenses to the holy name. And can somebody tell me which offense is that, which I'm referring to here? Of the 10 offenses, there is an offense which implies to this point that one cannot take
Number
the holy
7.
name. Yes. Go ahead.
Number 7.
Please tell us which one, what is that number 7 offense is, Mataji?
Commit sinful
Comment to
activities.
students on the
That's
seven.
right. For committing sinful activity on the strength of the holy name is actually an aparad. So we should not have that mentality. That is why we as a devotees have to always guard our mind, our consciousness, that as much as possible we should avoid sinful life. So if I could just request the devotees to kindly mute yourself again, that would be very helpful. Thank you. So here Rupa Goswami is giving us a simple instruction again, that be engaged in devotional service. You don't even have to worry about the yoga asanas to control the mind. Just by simply being engaged in the process of bhakti, one will be able to come to the stage to be able to practice devotional service. So now the word which is used here, if you see, sorry, I went 2 slides. So now the next or the last section of this particular purport is the most important thing one should surmount during the practice of devotional service is the weakness of heart. Ajay Govinda Prabhu read this from the purport of Srila Prabhupada, that there are 2 kinds of weaknesses Prabhupada is referring. The cause of problems from material existence. So these 2 are desire to load it over the material nature, that I am the Lord of all I survey, as Srila Prabhupada says this many times. And loading over makes one attached to the matter. So as we like to control things, the things which we are controlling, we become attached to those things. So because of these 2 things, what we develop is we develop a weakness of the heart. And let's see what happens when we do that. So despite chanting the all purifying names of Swayam Bhagwan Shri Krishna, the awakening of pure love of Godhead in the heart of the practicing jiva is not easily accomplished due to the presence of certain contaminations in the heart of the living entity. So you see, this is a clear meter to see how much, are we purified, or we still have these anartha? Am I still attached to being a control freak? This wonderful devotee in Delhi temple, very famous, I'm forgetting his name, Prabhuji he gives very short 5 or 7 minutes talk, like Prabhupada Vani Media. So I was hearing one of his talk, and he was saying there are 2 kind of people who always are frustrated. And until and unless we give up that mentality, it becomes very difficult for us to come to a satisfaction level. And one kind of person, he was explaining that they like to control everything. They want to be there for everything. They want to control everything. They want to do this. They want to do that. So they are the control freak of everything. The second kind, well, actually 3. The second kind of person who get frustrated very quickly is they like to have everything perfect. They want 10 upon 10. So he was saying they want a job 10 upon 10. They want wife 10 upon 10, husband 10 upon 10, neighbors 10 upon 10, neighbor's wife 10 upon 10. So that's their mentality. They want to see perfection all around them so that they can enjoy that. And then the third kind of person who gets frustrated very quickly is that they're looking for fun in everything. Like he used the word in Hindi, fun is called maja. So he says it in such a beautiful way that it makes me laugh. He says, all they're looking for is maza. Yaar, ek baar bade ho jaye, naukri lag jaye, maza aa jayega. Once we grow up, if I get married, that'll be so much of fun. Once I have kid, life will be fun. So they're all the time, they're looking for fun, they're looking for maja. And what happens in the case of the maja, their life becomes saja, saja. Like so maja means fun, and saja means like the life becomes a punishment for them, actually, for such people. So it's quite a funny way he presents it, but it's a reality of the life actually. So similarly, what happens when we are trying to be control freak, we unfortunately become attached to that matter, and our life also becomes a saza. And here is the advice of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his book Sri Bhajan Rahasya. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, Maya Mugda Chivera Anartha Chatu Saya Asha Trishna Hridaya Durbalya Visha Maya Aparadha Swarupa Vibha Rama Ehi Chari Jahate Samsara Bada Vipati Vishtari. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us his advice. He's saying the jiva bewildered by Maya is under the influence of the four contaminations. And they are hankering for things which are temporary and unreal, weakness of heart and mind, which is most poisonous, offenses, and bewilderment about one's own identity. So because of these reasons, we as a jiva, we are completely bewildered. And what happens? The problem is the presence of these four contaminations is the primary reason behind the inability to experience true prema despite the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Because we are still attached to these four things. We are hankering for things which are going to give us temporary or unreal happiness. We develop weakness of mind and weakness of heart because we are making offenses, and and then we are bewildered about our own identity, who we are. We are eternal servant of the Lord. So what happens is the weakness of the heart and the mind causes the lack of determination in the life of a sadhaka to perform activities which are favorable to bhakti and to relinquish all that is unfavorable to the cultivation of devotion to the Lord. The various types of aparad such as nama aparad, dhama aparad, vaishnava aparad, and seva aparad are like mad elephants that completely destroy the creeper of the bhakti in the heart of a sadhaka. So this is very important advice Bhaktivinoda Thakur is trying to give us. And what is the solution to this problem? And ultimately, until and unless one is situated in the sambandha gyan, or the knowledge of one's true identity and relationship with the Lord, and one continues to falsely think of this body to be the self and the paraphernalia and relation, like my parents, my father, my children, my wife, and constantly thinking of the body.
Got about 4 hours drive, he said.
Oh dear.
And when he goes back, he's got 2 days work.
Are they giving him petrol money?
Huh?
Are they?
Oh no, it's all shared. He said it's all shared out, Dad, everything.
That's good.
Sorry, I've just muted devotees. So what happens is, when I'm in that kind of consciousness, like falsely thinking of this body to be the self and the paraphernalia and the relationships related to the body to belong to the self, one cannot make progress to the path of devotion. It is therefore of the utmost importance that we try our best and fervently pray to the Lord to purify us of these contaminations so that we may be able to make progress on the path of spiritual realization. So the prayers are very, very powerful. When we sleep, when we get up, our biggest prayer and the best prayer is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Apart from that, there are many prayers. You can pick up a shloka which is very dear to you from Srimad Bhagavatam and make that a prayer of your life. My spiritual master says that Bhagavatam is so potent that you pick up any shloka and you can practically live your life out of that shloka. If you meditate, if you imbibe what the shloka is saying and you follow the instructions of the shloka, we can perfect our life. So this is the solution. We have to continuously pray for the purification. Srila Prabhupada, one time he said that I will never fall down. I think I've mentioned this before. And the devotees were hearing, they knew Prabhupada is a pure devotee. He doesn't have to pray because he's already situated. He's Mahabhagavat and great. And Prabhupada didn't, in a mood of having pride or anything, he said that. He said, I'll never fall down, because Prabhupada was completely convinced. And we find out later on when the lecture finished, Prabhupada was there in front of the deities intensely praying with those folded hands, with a very emotional, hard, and you could see the expressions on Prabhupada's face. So one of his disciples said, Srila Prabhupada, looks like you're praying. And Prabhupada said, yes, I am. He said, Prabhupada, why do you need to pray? Because you're not going to fall down. And Prabhupada said, that's why I'm praying. So a pure devotee sets an example for everybody to follow. And Srila Prabhupada, although he was Abhay, completely surrendered at the lotus feet of the Lord, who takes away the fear of everybody, yet Prabhupada was always praying that he never fall down. And one time Prabhupada said, the problem with us, the practicing devotees, are we are never enough fearful of the Maya actually. Because we think we have this holy name, we have the Shastras, we can challenge the material energy. We have to be very careful because we haven't reached that platform to be able to challenge the material energy of the Lord. So just concluding then to the points, we discussed the weakness of the heart and the role of the chapter 15, as Prabhupada says, the first 5 verses describe how to free oneself from these weaknesses. And the last 5 verses discusses the Purushottam Yoga. In fact, the majority of the chapter, the rest of the chapter discusses the Purushottam Yoga. So now it's 8:30. I want to quickly share with you, by your permission, that overview of Sutapa Prabhu's book, which he uses. So it would be nice for us to quickly recap the chapter. Let me just see if I can share my screen with all of you. Here we are. So let's look at what our dear Sutapa Prabhu is trying to tell us in terms of be able to remember chapter 15 and how we can try to remember this chapter. So hopefully you can see my page. If not, I can read it. So Sutapa Prabhu is saying, imagine someone checks into their holiday hotel room and then begins painting the walls, buying new furniture, refitting the bathroom, and hanging up family pictures. It sounds ludicrous. You don't make arrangements for long-term comfort in a temporary residence. This world is like a hotel room within which people make complicated plans for security and enjoyment. In chapter 15, Krishna uses the wonderful analogy to create detachment within the spiritualist and fuel his desire to re-enter his real home in the spiritual realm. Look at this beautiful way of putting this chapter together by our Sutapa Prabhu. That he is just giving it crystal clear. We are trying. We are actually, we can never be the owner of anything. We are tenants. We come here for a very small time. 100 years is not much, and most of us in this Kali Yuga, as it is progressing, even 100 years is like long. We don't live that long. So our lives are becoming shorter and shorter. So we want to make a decision whether we want to go home or we want to stay in a hotel and try to make that as a permanent place actually. And then that's why Sutapa Prabhu gave this word acronym home. So the first touch is home or hotel. The next is on and on, over and over again. Maintainer of the body, mind, soul, and E is essence in 3 verses. So let's see what Prabhu is trying to tell us. So maybe we can have one devotee read this. So somebody who's not read today, let's read home. Who would like to read home?
I can read.
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji. Please go ahead.
Okay.
This is a summary of the first 5 texts and trying to bring the conclusion of this beautiful chapter in this month of Purushottam.
H, home or hotel. That's verses 1 to 5. Just as a banyan tree has a reflection in water, the spiritual world also has its reflection, the material world. While they may look similar from a distance, the spiritual world is where reality, substance, and true satisfaction is found. On the other hand, the reflected tree of the material world is complicated, intricate, and completely topsy-turvy, since the roots are upwards and the branches downwards. Bird-like individuals frantically search for juicy fruits on the reflected tree, but the substance which brings satisfaction seems to be lacking. Krishna urges the reader to cut down this illusory tree with the weapon of detachment and end the futile endeavors for permanent fulfillment in the temporary phantasmagoria.
Shy. So look at how I'm not going to expand on this. Sudhava Prabhu is a real genius. He's giving us a nice overview of the first 5 verses. Now let's not get attached to the world and let's not make this our home or a hotel, trying to make permanent arrangements. Otherwise, we will just be going up and down and become illusion, like how an animal sometimes looking for water enters the desert and seeing a mirage of the desert thinks this is water, but he doesn't find water anywhere in that mirage. So similarly, we as a jivas, we are looking for happiness, but in that true happiness doesn't lie in this world, ladies and gentlemen. It only lies in the spiritual world. So now if we can have the conclusion of the next 5 verses, 6 to 11, or rather 6. So if I can maybe have who's online with us today. So if we can have Bhagwati Mataji, would you like to read the next one?
Sure. It's L, on and on, over and over again, verses 6 to 11. Krishna then gives a glimpse of the spiritual world, showing how its nature is perfect, complete and fully satisfying to all. Once having gone there, one never returns to this world. Here in the material realm, an individual hops from tree to tree, acquiring various material bodies based on the worldly desire they cultivate throughout life. At the time of death, through the subtle workings of reincarnation, one receives a body which is tailor-made to facilitate such desire. Man proposes, God disposes. Thus, different life situations are meant to teach us a simple lesson. We are looking for the right thing, which is happiness, but we are looking in the wrong places.
So that is such a profound point Prabhu has made in concluding these verses, which we very nicely remember. Krishna is trying to tell us this material realm and individual hopes from tree to tree, acquiring various material bodies based on the worldly desire they cultivate throughout the life. And what happens at the time of death? We get into this saga of reincarnation from one body to another body, which is given to us. It is tailor-made, Sutava Prabhu is saying, based on our desires. So thus, he ends on this, we are looking for the right thing, right, which is clearly right, happiness, but we are looking in the wrong places. Thank you, Mataji. Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu, are you able to unmute yourself so we can hear your transcendental voice? And would you like to read M for us? You're muted at the moment, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu. Are you able to unmute yourself? I will let you walk out to see if you can unmute yourself, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu. In the meanwhile, we're going to go to Dev Kishan Prabhu. Sometimes it could be Mataji, depending on whose login we are using. Would you like to read the M?
Yeah, I can certainly try.
Go for it, Dev Kishan Prabhu.
So, maintainer of body, mind, soul, verses 12 to 15. One who is entangled within the reflected tree of material existence can develop his Krishna consciousness by appreciating Krishna as the maintainer on all levels. Krishna maintains our gross physical body by arranging fundamental resources that provide the energy of life. He also maintains our subtle capacities by facilitating knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And finally, perhaps most importantly, Krishna maintains our spirituality by offering ways and means to achieve self-realization and escape the dangerous cycle of repeated birth and death.
Thank you so much. So if you all recall, Sarvasya Chaham Hridisa Nivrishto. So that beautiful verse is the essence of these, like what Sudhava Prabhu is trying. Krishna maintains our gross physical body by arranging fundamental resources that provide the energy of the life. And then he also maintains our subtle capacities, like to be able to remember, to be able to forget, to be able to acquire knowledge, to understand what is the goal of the life. Thank you so much, Prabhu. And finally, we will conclude in E. Who would like to go for E?
Can I do so?
Yes, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu. I'm so happy to hear your voice. Please go ahead. Save the best for the last.
I'm blessed by your association and the devotees, so it's a rare opportunity.
Please go ahead, Prabhu.
Okay, let me do that. It stands in 3 verses, verses 16 to 18. Previously, Krishna summarized the Bhagavad Gita in 4 verses, and now he again summarizes the teachings in 3 verses. Fallible living entity Kshara have dropped into the tree of material existence due to an independent desire to enjoy. These are different from infallible living entities, entities Aksara, who never leave the spiritual realm due to their undeviated desire to be with the Lord. Beyond both entities is the Supreme Lord. Thus, in yet another passage, Krishna reinforces that the living entity never becomes God, since even liberated souls have the separate identity in the spiritual world. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. So this is the conclusion or the culmination of devotional service. We should have an intense desire to associate with the devotees of the Lord so that we can advance in Krishna consciousness. So that very nicely brings us to the conclusion of this most beautiful chapter in this most beautiful month, which only comes once in 3 years, to be able to practice this rare art of devotional service. Practicing an art of yoga, or the physical yoga, or the niyama, yama, asana, atyahara, all of these various practices leading all the way to samadhi is not very rare. I mean, that's not, you can find that it's quite common. Many people do that. But performing devotional service, it's very rare, because there you need your mind, your senses to be engaged in the service of the Lord. But somehow or other, we have come to this world to practice this bhakti. So now let me ask you a question. How many of you are feeling this in the month of Purushottam, having read, chanted, and discussed the purport of Srila Prabhupada's on this beautiful chapter? How many are you feeling, how many of you are, to what degree are you all feeling appreciative of Srila Prabhupada and his contribution and Lord Krishna's message? Let me have a look at your messages. If you could send something, let me see how are you feeling at the end of the 15th chapter today. Bhagavati Mataji saying, anyone who renders service to Lord Krishna as JBS with love. As JBS, just trying to remember what that stands for now.
I think Krishna and Jagannath Baladev Subhadra maybe.
Okay. Free from envy because of friends and devotees. Thank you, Mataji. Rupa Mataji is feeling blessed. Santosh Mataji is feeling enlightened. Okay, what else? Are you feeling a sense of gratitude towards Srila Prabhupada that, wow, what amazing as it is addition has been dropped onto my head in this rare world, and I have access to that Bhagavad Gita, which is directly coming from Krishna. Indebted to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Very blessed and thankful. Yeah, so I humbly beg you that now take this message of 15th chapter and share it with your friends. Tell them, call them and say that, have you read 15th chapter? We have 5 days for the month of Purushottam to finish. Read it every day. Don't let a day go by reciting a chapter of Bhagavad Gita, especially in these 5 days. Make a spiritual progress. So think of 5 friends. If you look at your phone book and you're thinking, where do I call people? You'll find 5 people easily in your phone book who may not have Bhagavad Gita. I can assure you that. Pick the phone to them and say, this is Divyanand Das. I was just calling to check. How are you? Have you heard what this beautiful month is all about? Tell them to read the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Have a discussion with them because you're also qualified. Jyoti Mataji is saying, it's been a very wonderful and enlightening journey, Prabhuji. 3 of us have helped us with 3 of you have helped us with a lot of knowledge. Understand, truly blessed I feel. Thank you, Jyoti Mataji. Hemalata Mataji is saying, Hare Krishna Divyanam Prabhu. A lot of messages are coming now. For the divine class, I joined recently. I really blessed to join this class. Thank you to Mukunda Hari Prabhuji. Yes, Mukunda Hari Prabhu is a real gem in our community. Thank you, Mataji. Definitely feel Krishna is looking after me. Who is this Prabhu or Mataji from iPhone? It would be nice if you change your names as well and have the videos on so we can see each other. Jolly Mataji is expressing gratitude to Prabhupada. So that's my request to all of you. Please share the message of Bhagavad Gita, both in its vibration form of what you're experiencing and also literally trying to distribute Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita. So the campaign is available for all of you. You know the link where it is available. Share it with your friends. Tell them to just sponsor 1 box of Bhagavad Gita in their life. Prabhupada will be so pleased. and the Lord will be so pleased in the month of Purushottam and Kartik. It was wonderful to read the 15 chapters with Chat Seniors, very enlightening and has changed our views of thinking and loving Krishna more and more. Thank you, Bhagavati Mataji. We are feeling blessed from Shabani Mataji and Girish Prabhu, because you're already empowered and blessed yourself. Really feel blessed by listening chapter 15. Yeah, I think it's a very, very good. Where is the link? iPhone Prabhu is Mataji is asking. So let me share the link with all of you. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to share the link with all of you. Where is it? Oh, how do I select a message to everyone? There it is. I believe, I think the spelling is not exactly right, but we couldn't change the spelling. It's Krishna Temple, www.krishnatemple.com/Shastra Dan with a single A, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is the link. Try it and let me know if it works, just for my own peace of mind that you've got the right place to go and sponsor books of Srila Prabhupada or encourage others to buy them. We can also deliver it to your home if need be, those 15 Gitas or one. As I said, order a box, keep it in your home. Trust me, you can give wonderful gifts to the people, but there's no better gift. Narendra Modi, as I said, he says there's nothing better for the world to have or nothing better for one to receive other than Bhagavad Gita as it is. So just remember that. It's 8:45 now, and thank you for your reflections. We will sing the Astakam. It's a Saturday evening together. So maybe we can have somebody new who hasn't sung at all and would like to volunteer for singing this Astakam or like to give it a go. Anybody?
Oh, Hare Krishna. You've forgotten me, Prabhu?
Oh, Nitai Mata, sorry, you wanted to ask a question, or sorry, please go ahead.
No, I was thinking I asked you last week before that I would sing, and then you said
Oh yes, sorry, thank you, Nitai Mata. Sorry, yes, I had you for that. Sometimes it's helpful if you remind me, because with so many services, I make these offenses of
I
forgetting
know.
the devotees.
No. It's not an offense. That's why, it's okay. It's not an offense, Prabhu. No,
Because
please.
you're so merciful, Mataji. Radhanath Maharaj
No.
says, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj says that a Vaishnava is one who forgives even before the offense is committed. So you are that Vaishnava, Mataji.
Oh no, Prabhu, my God. Oh, Krishna Chaitanya.
1 second. I'm just going to bring up the bhajan. Astakam. So I'm still under discussion of, we will definitely be reciting the chapter 15 for the next 5 days, but you will hear from Vrindavan Chand Prabhu what our plan is tomorrow. So I'm still reviewing and discussing that and thinking about it myself, and then we'll get back to you tomorrow. Okay, let me share the screen. So we will recite behind the muted mic. I'm going to mute everybody, and you can unmute yourself after that, Nitai Mata. And then we will recite it with you, but behind the muted mics.
But are you going to do the translation first, no, Prabhu? That's what
Yes,
normally.
we will do the translation. Okay, great. So maybe I'll just do the translation for the first few, and then anybody can jump in. I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of thief, who's famous in Braja as the butter thief, and he who steals the gopis' clothes, and who, for those who take shelter of him, steals the sins which have accrued over many lifetimes. I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of thieves, who steals Srimati Radhika's heart, who steals the dark luster of a fresh rain cloud, and who steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take shelter of his lotus feet. He turns his surrendered devotees into paupers and wandering homeless beggar. Alas, such a fearsome thief has never been seen or heard of in all the three worlds. Mere utterance of his name purges one of a mountain of sins. Such an astonishingly wonderful thief I have never seen or heard of anywhere. O thief, having stolen my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, and my everything, where can you run to? I have caught you with the rope of my devotion. You cut the terrible nose of Yamaraj. You sever the dreadful nose of material existence, and you slash everyone's material bondage. But you are unable to cut the knot fastened by your own loving devotees. I'll read the other last two as well, if it is okay with everybody. O stealer of my everything, O thief, today I have imprisoned you in the miserable prison house of my heart, which is very fearful due to the terrible darkness of my ignorance. and there for a very long time you will remain receiving appropriate punishment for your crime of thievery. O Krishna, thief of my everything, the nose of my devotion remaining forever tight, you will continue to reside in the prison house of my heart because I will not release you for millions of aeons. Here we are. Over to you, Nitai Mata, for this beautiful bhajan called Raje Prasidam Navanita by Bibla Mangal Thakur.
Thank you, Prabhu. Vaje prasidam navanita chauram gopan gananam chadukula chauram aneka janma jita papa chauram chauragya ganyam purusam namami Sri Radhikaya Idayasa Chauram Navambuddha Shamala Kanti Chauram Padashritanam Cha Namast Samasta Chauram Chauragya Ganyam Purusham Namami Akinchane Kritya Padashritam Ye Karoti Picham Patigehahinam Kenapiyaho Bishana Chaurayedre Drashasato Vana Jagatrayepi Yati Anamapi Harati Hasitsam Kire Prasaranapi Paparasin Ascharya Rupo Nanu Chaurayedre Drashta Sruto Vana Maya Kadape Danam Cha Manam Cha Tadendriyane Pranam Cha Hitva Mama Sarvayeva Palayase Kruta Trutudaya Chaura Tam Bhaktidam Nase Maya Niruddha Chinatsi Goram Yamapasa Bandam Benatsi Bemam Bhavapasa Bandam Chinatsi Sarvasya Samasta Bandam Naivatmano Bhakta Kritam Tu Bandam Manmanase Tamasarasi Gaure Karagare Dukkha Maya Nipada Labhasavahe Chaura Hare Chiraya Sau Chaura Doso Chit Eva Dandam Vaje Prasida Navaneta Chauram Gopanaganam Chadukula Chauram Aneka Janma Jita Papa Chauram Chauragya Ganyam Purusam Namami Karagre Vasasada Hidaye Madiye Madbhakti Pasadrida Bandhana Nischala Santam Krishna He Pralaya Kote Santa Thare Pisarvasta Chaura Hidayannahi Mochayami. Purushottam Bhagavan ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Nitai Mata. That was wonderful. Thank you. I have few reflections to conclude. I have devotees expressing gratitude to the devotees doing chat. Thank you. Reading chapter 15, Shipra Mataji saying is very enlightening. I'm so fortunate to have such wonderful association. Hare Krishna. I'm so blessed, Prabhu, for the devotional recitation every day. Thank you so much, Mitali Mataji. Thank you for dedicating your life. Wonderful melodious voice. Thank you, Mataji. Heartwarming recitation from Hema Mataji. Thanking Nitai Mata. Very beautiful, Hare Krishna. Beautifully sung. So on this auspicious conclusion of this 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I'd like to remind all of you, it is explained that when we break our fast on Friday, on the Vrat of Purushottam month, every one of us should perform of some charity to some degree or other. So it's always nice to be able to give something for furthering Krishna consciousness directly at the temple, or you can do that even by sponsoring the Bhagavad Gitas or the best thing you can do is even invite those who do not have the opportunity to hear how glorious this month is, and get them to do the charity. Just by doing that towards spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, they will get such blessings and benediction. You'll do the best service to them. So we have 5 days to perform any charity you'd like to do. And what is the best charity than to sponsor a Bhagavad Gita or and distribute it to others? So please, if you haven't done that vrata or broken your fast, which you will be doing on Friday, do it before that. I know many of you are signing up as I get the emails, as we donations keep coming through, and we are building our piles of Bhagavad Gita so we can send it to prisons, to care homes, to hospitals, to funerals, to all these places. The world is really struggling and wanting this knowledge. Anything can you do will help. So let's conclude now. To end now, Nitai Mata is saying, thank you very much for giving this opportunity and offer to my Guru Maharaj, from whom I knew this bhajan 7 to 8 years ago. Jai Nitai Mata, thank you so much. Hari Bol. So we'd like to conclude by a little prayer towards the end of this chapter. We pray to Srila Prabhupada, to Guru Maharaj, to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all our acharyas, and Sri Radha Gokulananda, Sri Sitaram, Lakshman Hanuman, God Nitai, that they continue to empower us in the community so we can come together and recite and chant the chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And also we pray to the Lord Purushottam, whose month is this beautiful month of Purushottam, that please, oh my Lord, if you so desire, then please kindly empower us by intelligence so we can understand your instructions, we can follow them, and also help in distribution of this knowledge as wide as possible for your pleasure. Those of you who agree with this prayer in part or whole, please unmute yourself and loudly chant the one full Mahamantra along with me. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Ho.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Send me a
Hare
message.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Prabhuji, thank
Sorry,
you.
just 1 second before you leave. We had a message from somebody. Khushbu Mataji reminded me that today is Yashwini Sachi Mataji's birthday. So many happy returns of the day, Mataji. If you're still there, I do apologize for picking up this message, but oh, you're still there. I'm glad we got to you on time. Many happy returns of the day. Praying for your success in spiritual life, Mataji, and praying for the blessings the deities could bestow on you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.